CTV News with Mitsumi Takahashi.
Good evening. There's something very disturbing happening in the Plateau. Restaurants are being broken into, robbed, vandalized. Now the owners have come forward. They have images taken from their security cameras, and they're saying it has to stop. Christine Long reports.
Coco Disco Club is run by a hard-working husband and wife team. A recent break-in and theft at their Plateau restaurant is costing them $7,000 in damages and stolen goods. Their security camera recorded it.
Broke into your home and stole your hard-working money.
It's still a pretty vulnerable moment for us still.
This stretch of Duluth East is a quiet residential area with lots of restaurants, some of which have also had break-ins. Au Pied de Cochon is one of them. Michael Picard-Labelle took to social media to post that after being robbed, his laptop was found in the bushes and returned. Not far away on Laurier, Marc-Antoine Paquin of Noble Cafe was also robbed.
At least to catch the guy and, to have a more responsive police service. When these kind of thing happen, it's not good for the neighborhood, it's not good for yourself, it's really stressful.
Loic Fortin is worried that the break-ins will continue.
He's done it in so many places, so you become a pro,
Manu Janick says running a small business is hard enough without this kind of fear.
It happens so many times in such a small amount of time. It's a city problem, and we are paying the consequences of it, and all we're asking is just a little bit of help.
CTV News reached out to Kathy Wong, the borough mayor, who declined to comment. The police told CTV that their investigation is ongoing.
Raise Montreal as a gastronomic destination for tourists. They're spending so much money on marketing, trying to make tourists come, but when it comes to truly helping those making this industry work on a daily basis, we feel very abandoned.
All they want to do is protect their businesses. Christine Long, CTV News.
2 men were found seriously injured early this morning in East End, Montreal. Police say they found one man just after 5 this morning on Notre Dame Street East near Liébert Street. A few minutes later, officers were called to a home nearby on Frédéric Chopin Street near Notre Dame, and there they found the other injured man. Police are not saying whether the two incidents are related. The Granby Zoo has issued a warning. It's for visitors who visited the zoo this week who might have had contact with a Japanese macaque. Now, Caroline, they say the monkeys can carry a type of herpes virus.
Yes, it is herpes B virus, and while it is very rare in humans, it can be dangerous and even cause death if left untreated. Now, Granby Zoo officials are being cautious because on August the 4th, a platform that's used to get close to the macaques to present the animals to the public was left open, and that platform has a mesh fence that allows exposure to the monkeys. And on that day, a woman was scratched by one of them when her children tried to feed the animals, and she reached forward to stop them. So because the platform was left unattended, which they attributed to human error, they are now asking anyone who was there that day or had access to the macaques to be aware that if they touch them, they could be infected.
So if they were to reach an arm, they would be at a distance that's close enough to reach the mesh. And if there's a macaque there, then there could have been a potential contact. And that's what happened on that day. There's a person that has been scratched by one of the macaque and went to, we did first care and they went to the hospital. But we wanted to make sure that there wasn't another case that we were not aware of, since that platform had been open for a couple of hours during the day.
Now, they believe the chances of this are extremely low and say even in countries where Japanese macaques run wild and come into contact with tourists, it's very rare that humans become infected. But since the monkeys can be asymptomatic but be carriers of the disease, they are asking people to keep an eye out for any lesions or flu-like symptoms that might arise from an infection of herpes B. And these symptoms could develop anywhere from 2 to 3 days to 6 weeks after contact, and they would require antiviral medication. Now, there has never been an infection like this seen in Canada, and they stressed again the chances of this are very low, but they want it to be as transparent as possible as a preventative measure. Santé Quebec and 811 have also been alerted if anyone comes in or calls them about a possible infection. Mitsumi.
Thanks very much, Caroline. The oldest metro cars in Montreal's metro system are being moved to the Green Line, and the newer cars will be moved to the Blue Line. They say it's part of a plan to expand the network, and as Sweeta Rassi reports, there are concerns.
It's a trade-off between two of Montreal's metro lines. When the Blue Line extension opens in 2031, the STM will move its modern metro cars off the Green Line and onto the Blue. In return, the older cars, the MR73, will head the other way. Some riders are concerned.
I think it's going to cause delays.
I use the metro like almost daily, and those trains that know them for a while, they always break.
The STM says the Green Line can accommodate the older cars, whereas the Blue Line will have a new control system that doesn't work with the older fleets. The MR73s are 50 years old and 11% less reliable. City Councillor Sarah Vedoyon with opposition Projet Montréal expects more service disruptions.
We are going to get the old trains on the Green Line, which means less reliable service, less capacity in the trains.
That's why she launched an online petition calling for more frequent trains to help offset the older and slower ones. And she wants the administration to present a plan to replace all the MR73s by 2036. The City of Montreal's plan is to have all new metro cars by 2040. But by then, the MR73s would have exceeded their lifespan, making them the oldest running metro cars in the world. That's according to the STM.
So we have like 4 years of uncertainty.
Montreal Mayor Soraya Martinez-Ferrada pushes back.
I could ask him what was done in the past 8 years. I mean, they knew that this was coming.
She says she will talk with the next provincial government in hopes of securing additional funding for the metro system. Sweeta Rassi, CTV News.
A very popular feature of Montreal's village is being brought back. It's part of a plan for a very different kind of St. Catherine Street. Here's Laurence Brisson-Dubreuil.
One of the village's most familiar sights is making a return, and with it, a whole lot of color. The city says the iconic balls are coming back. Designed by the late landscape architect Claude Cormier, the colorful canopies stretched above St. Catherine Street from 2011 to 2019. Now, after talks with the artist's family and the agency that holds the rights, Mayor Soraya Martinez-Ferrada says the ball is rolling.
We should be proud of what Cormier has done for the city, and not having the balls in the village, I think it was something missing.
The installation is part of a broader revitalization of the village, including plans to rebuild water and sewer lines, repave St. Catherine Street, plant 270 trees, and add hundreds of new seats. But the project also marks a shift. The previous administration had intended to pedestrianize the street year-round. Now the city says the redesign will keep that option open while still allowing vehicle access if needed. For this business owner, that flexibility is welcome.
The fact that we'll be able to shut down the street in the winter, in the spring, in the summer, if we plan to do these festivals, like let's say we want to do a Christmas market, we'll be able to close the street down in the winter much more efficiently, much more quickly than we currently can.
After years of waiting, the village's business association says having a timeline brings some certainty.
We've been telling them for, 4, 5, 6 years, the city is going to redo the street, so not having that much information for the last years has been increasing the stress for the merchants.
She hopes the project helps keep existing businesses and fills vacant storefronts. The Residents Association says the project is a start, but argues revitalizing the village also means addressing the housing crisis and the growing unhoused population.
A lot of problems have been pushed into the area here. The solution for that is quite simple. It's housing first.
While construction is set to begin in the fall of 2027, with completion set for 2030, the contract for the balls is expected to be awarded later this month. A familiar symbol returning as the village prepares for its next chapter. Laurence Brisson-Dubreuil, CTV News.
There will be people at the banks of the St. Lawrence River tonight picking up garbage. It's part of a 16-day blitz to collect tons of trash and raise awareness of what it's doing to our riverways. Denise Roberts has more.
From a distance, Lachine's shoreline seems pristine. But if you look a little closer, there are plenty of things that don't belong here, like cigarette butts and pieces of plastic, garbage that makes its way into the St. Lawrence and harms its ecosystem, according to marine biologist Lynn Morissette.
So the St. Lawrence is facing the exact same challenges that we're seeing at the international level.
For the third straight year, Morissette is leading the Expedition Saint Laurent team on a 16-day-long cleanup that starts in Montreal and ends in Baie-Comeau. She says the amount of trash they collect along the way is alarming.
We are talking about tons of trash. The last two editions of the Expedition Saint Laurent, we collected 22 tons of trash.
And it's not just what's above ground. The team includes divers who collect debris below.
In many cases, it's worse underwater because nobody can see it.
Some of what they unearth is downright weird.
We found statues of the Virgin Mary. We found like religious objects, sexual objects, all sorts of things. Yeah.
Everything collected is sorted into boxes.
Because we want to know what kind of trash we are collecting everywhere to pinpoint the efficiency of the solutions that we have to fight the plastic pollution afterwards.
Morissette says awareness is an important part of their work.
If we only use that kind of doom and gloom thing, it will not create action.
Instead, she says it's about educating people about the impact of garbage on everything.
It's in the seafood we are eating, it's in the water we're drinking. Plastic is everywhere.
While the team will be traveling on this bus 2,000 kilometers up the St. Lawrence River, they're hoping that volunteers will meet them at stops along the way and offer some much needed reinforcements. Anyone looking to pitch in can go to their website, expeditionsaintlaurent.com. Denise Roberts, CTV News.
A name familiar to many Montrealers has been recruited by the Quebec Liberal Party. James Hughes, the head of the Old Brewery Mission, will be running for the party in the riding of Vaudreuil. Here's Matt Grillo.
To James Hughes.
Just yesterday, James Hughes was at a press conference as the head of the Old Brewery Mission. Today, Liberal Party supporters are chanting his name. Hughes is officially the Liberal candidate in the riding of Vaudreuil.
At some point, you got to stop doing what you were doing if you're in a job and carrying out those functions to start a new one. And that day was yesterday.
Hughes has been CEO of the Old Brewery Mission since 2020. He previously served in the role from 2004 to 2008 before heading to New Brunswick to work for the government.
He's been around for many years, and I think it's time for him to sit in the Salon Bleu in Quebec City.
Hughes replaces Liberal Marie-Claude Nichols, who was MNA for 3 terms. The riding of Vaudreuil also includes Ile Perrot and has more than 61,000 voters. Given his background, Hughes is calling for transformational change to solve homelessness.
It was the time for me to say, okay, I want to start thinking about how to change the rules, not just live within the current rules.
Former Quebec Premier Danielle Johnson says Hughes's candidacy is timely and speaks to Charles Milliard's ability to recruit.
It shows that Charles Milliard can attract wonderful talent, and people have confidence in him. They trust what he can do for Quebec, and they want to join him.
Hughes says he's not from Vaudreuil, but grew up in the West Island, and his parents live in Hudson. So he says he's often in the area. He admits he still has a lot to learn about the riding. Matt Grillo, CTV News, Vaudreuil.
And Matthew Pierce, who is the former head of the Old Brewery Mission, will take over as interim head until a new president and CEO is chosen. Well, the Quebec election campaign will begin in a month, and Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon and his Parti Québécois continue to lead in the polls. The latest Palace data poll shows that the PQ is up 2 points to 31%. The Liberals follow, also up 2 points with 27%, and the CAQ is down slightly in third place with 19%. The Governor General was in Quebec City today. She was meeting with young entrepreneurs. Louise Arbour met students who were making new protein drinks and other products at the Mycelium Incubator. And she was asked about her role It's one that the Parti Québécois has called symbolic and useless.
This is not a function that is purely symbolic. It is to the extent that it represents a distinction between the government and the state. There's a continuity in the state that is not reflected in the democratic choice of government. So the Governor General represents the continuity of the state and plays a part in the legislative process. Not an executive function, but it's a very important governance function in Canada. And it has many other aspects, such as recognizing excellence, reaching out to Canadian communities. There are many aspects. But I wouldn't be there if I thought it was an insignificant role.
And coming up, it is called Criminals for Hire.
Criminals are exploiting encrypted technology to recruit young people and coordinate serious criminal acts.
And police believe that was behind the shooting at the U.S. consulate in Toronto. And there are Canada-U.S. trade talks, even if Donald Trump is calling Canada names. Trade talks are underway in Washington with the new tariff deadline less than 2 weeks away. There is cautious optimism, even though just yesterday Donald Trump described Canada as nasty. Mike, look at your reports.
Canada's minister in charge of Canada-U.S. trade was overtly optimistic heading into his meeting with U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer. Dominic LeBlanc says he's hopeful a deal can be reached before 50% tariffs kick in August 19th. A clear contrast to President Donald Trump's comments Wednesday night.
Canada's nasty. They're nasty.
At an aluminum plant hit hard by American tariffs, Prime Minister Carney had a more measured tone.
C'est une négociation tough.
He called the negotiations tough, conceding one could also use the word nasty. Carney made no apologies for wanting a comprehensive deal that addresses tariffs on the steel, aluminum, auto, and forestry sectors.
Will we get all of that by the 19th of August? We'll see. But we want to have pathways in order to get that.
Opposition leader Pierre Poilievre says Carney hasn't been tough enough, adding Canada got nothing for removing counter tariffs on the U.S. and for ditching the digital services tax on American tech firms.
We're calling on him to take the leverage that he has not yet squandered, take it to the bargaining table, and get something in return for a change.
There has been a suggestion to leverage our energy and potash exports to the U.S. Well, that move could also impact Canadians. This former special advisor on Canada-U.S. relations to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau believes it shouldn't be discounted.
In the sense that we know it would have tremendous impact on the U.S. and be very effective leverage in this relationship right now.
Canada's supply-managed dairy sector has been an irritant to the Americans in these negotiations. Carney defended the decades-old policy, saying it helps consumers and farmers. Hardly a shock, considering he was also campaigning with his candidate for a by-election in Quebec at the end of the month. Mike Lecouture, CTV News, Ottawa.
The aluminum plant the Prime Minister toured in today is in Saguenay. Rio Tinto is building a new plant that will produce carbon-neutral aluminum. And there's funding from both Quebec and Ottawa. Carney says projects like this one will make Quebec's aluminum exports more competitive and help protect and build the economy.
Focused on the future, investing in partnership, in new technologies that are going to make this company competitive, not for next year, next week, but for decades to come. And we will continue to do that.
Aluminum prices in the U.S. have shot up since Donald Trump placed a 50% tariff on the imports last June. 2 teenagers are in custody. Police believe they're part of a so-called criminals for hire network. The teens were arrested in connection with the most recent shooting at the U.S. consulate in Toronto. Adrian Gabriel reports.
This is the moment at least one shot was fired at the U.S. consulate in downtown Toronto, sparking a Canada-wide national security investigation.
2 males, one 19 years old and the other just 15 years old, are now in custody and facing multiple criminal charges.
The teens, according to police, who were said to have been driving this white Honda Accord with no license plate, were lured by a gun-for-hire scheme playing out on encrypted messaging applications.
Criminals are exploiting encrypted technology to recruit young people and coordinate serious criminal acts.
Online recruiting is also believed to have been a factor in another shooting at Toronto's U.S. consulate on March 10th of this year. In that case, bullets were aimed near the front doors, where just inside a portrait of President Donald Trump hangs. Multiple separate arrests have already been made in that case.
There's marked police cars on the boulevard in front of the U.S. consulate 24/7. They don't care. It takes 5 seconds to let those shots fire through the window.
Former Toronto Police homicide detective Mark Mendelson believes there are multiple levels of criminals pulling the strings who remain elusive.
If this in fact is being done through encrypted messaging apps, how much more difficult is it for police to find who's behind these hires?
Without question, we don't know who is the person actually engaging in all of this. Who's the one that wants that work done?
Each of those arrested in the July shooting at the consulate were out on probation, leading to renewed calls from Toronto's top cop for the justice system to do its part through the new Bail Sentencing Reform Act.
We need proper deterrence and justice reform.
Many have shared their fear that until the new legislation is tested in court and violent offenders remain in custody, terrorizing scenes such as this will only continue.
Toronto police sharing that their investigation, which is in lockstep with the RCMP, is still ongoing as they work to uncover who's financing, directing, and organizing these gun-for-hire attacks. Adrian Gabriel, CTV News, Toronto.
Iran says it's in the final stages of drafting an agreement with Oman to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. An agreement would ease pressure on the global economy and could help bring an end to the Iran war. But the agreement would likely be contingent on the U.S. lifting its blockade of Iran's ports. Also, the proposed deal would give Iran control over ships entering the strait, and that's something the U.S. has said would not happen. And coming up, an old scam is new again.
They can do just by getting about 10 seconds of anyone's voice. They can recreate that voice.
A warning that the grandparent scam is becoming very difficult to spot. And a new kind of security camera is raising many concerns about driver privacy. The U.S. president has formidable powers to target his enemies. In normal times, the state cannot prosecute people just because the president hates them. But then these are not normal times. Graham Dodds joins us. Hi, Graham.
Hi, Mitsumi.
So, Graham, two people, they've been held up for public prosecution and humiliation. Former FBI Director James Comey, Dr. Anthony Fauci is the former chief medical advisor to the president. We know him through the COVID pandemic. Most people know that the charges against them are not substantiated, so why have they been targeted so publicly?
Well, I think at this point in Trump's presidency, most people realize that Donald Trump is quite often thin-skinned, easy to take offense. He can be vindictive, he holds a grudge, and he's a bully. So, look, both of these gentlemen were problems for Mr. Trump in his first term. They were critical of him. And he is now in his second term going after them, trying to send a message. And it's quite clear. Anyone in government who does not buckle under, who dares to stand up to the president, resist him, or even criticize him, well, they risk what? Losing their job, their pension, their career, and maybe even going to jail. That's exactly what Trump is doing. And it's shocking. This is the sort of thing that, as a political scientist, we would normally see in an autocracy, not in one of the world's great democracies.
But, you know, Graham, the U.S. government is said to be all about checks and balances, right? I mean, there are departments like Justice, agencies like the FBI, so what has happened to them?
Yeah, it's true. The American system of government is predicated on division of power, with each of the three pieces or branches having equal status, the legislative, the executive, and the judicial. And it also supposedly gives each of those pieces the means and motive to resist encroachments by the other two. But by any account, the presidency has grown at the expense of the rest of government. And it's a long-term development, but it's become especially acute under Trump. And you need look no further than how he has been able to politicize aspects of government that are supposed to be insulated from politics, like law enforcement. He's been able to exert control over these things. So the idea of bureaucratic independence and expertise, or legal cases being based on the merits, that's increasingly out the window. And we're seeing a government that will bend to the will of the president, and he can use the machinery of government to go after his political foes.
Okay, then, so what happens after Donald Trump's term is over? If there is a will, would these things be difficult to reverse?
I think it would be difficult to reverse. I think that, to be perfectly honest, Trump has done horrible damage to the presidency and to American politics and government writ large. And it is sadly, I think, much easier to destroy good democratic institutions and norms than it is to rebuild them. I mean, think a couple years ago, 4 years of Joe Biden, who was by all accounts an exceedingly normal president, almost so normal as to be boring. That was not enough to de-Trumpify the United States. I think that would require a much greater political will than we've seen. It would require Democrats to more effectively resist the president. And frankly, I think it would require Republicans to reject both Trump and Trumpism. And that's not much happening.
So the midterm elections are now 88 days away, I think. How are they shaping up? What's at stake?
Yeah, 88 days from today, control of the U.S. Congress is up for grabs, both the House and the Senate. And that's hugely important because if Democrats were to take control of one or both chambers, and there's a good chance they will take control of at least one because Trump is unpopular and Democrats are pretty motivated, that would make a huge difference. That would enable Democrats to defund some of the things that Trump has put in place. They would be able to resist everything else he wants. They would be able to investigate some of his wrongdoing. And, you know, they could impeach him yet again, or maybe even remove him from office this time. So it's hugely important. And Trump knows this. He realizes this, which is why he's trying to interfere in those elections and preserve his power going forward.
Okay. Thank you very much for this, Graham.
Thank you.
There's something called flock cameras. They automatically scan every license plate that passes, logging the vehicle, the time, and the location. Increasingly, though, they are the subject of debate over security versus privacy. Here's Rena Roy.
As more cities implement automated license plate readers, controversy is brewing. Authorities in New Jersey are warning that those flock cameras are increasingly being targeted, according to an intelligence bulletin reviewed by ABC News. Local police now urge to step up patrols around those cameras, which automatically scan every license plate that passes, logging the vehicle, time, and location into a searchable database that officers can use to track vehicles.
We've talked about this issue nationwide about and how the number of good things flock cameras have done, LPRs have done, missing persons, finding missing kids. It's been a game changer for us, what we've been able to accomplish here.
Flock cameras were even used in the Brown University and MIT shooting investigations to help locate the suspect. But critics are calling flock cameras a mass surveillance system, sparking protests over privacy concerns.
Even if I trust my police department, I don't want them knowing my every movement.
Recently, cameras in Houston have been vandalized, covered in spray paint. In Winona, Minnesota, all 8 of the city's cameras were stolen. And in Connecticut, the governor and some state senators are considering a moratorium on these cameras until privacy concerns are addressed.
The issue is that just continue to keep proliferating, and they keep springing up like dandelions in the spring.
In a statement to ABC News today, the CEO of Flock, Garrett Langley, maintains the company's products help, quote, solve serious crimes and protect communities. Adding Flock condemns any misuse of the cameras. And in a recorded statement sent to ABC affiliate WTNH, Langley also saying this.
The debate of privacy and safety is an important one. And at Flock, we believe they can coexist.
There are also several cases of police officers allegedly misusing the Flock system across the country, including a former officer in North Carolina who's accused of using it to track the movements of her boyfriend's ex-wife. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
Weather brought to you by Gratian Scaff's 50th anniversary gift event. Get a complete second pair and sunglasses as a gift.
Well, the weather kept us guessing today. We started the day off with some sunshine. We had some passing showers. The humidity was very much present. And at this time, we are still under a risk of some thunderstorms. Now, our temperature today was still slightly above seasonal, but that humidity was a major factor yet again, and that's going to continue tomorrow. Our high being 29 degrees when we typically be at 26, but with the humidex, it felt like 38. Putting our futurecast into motion, we are still under that 40% chance of showers and thunderstorms. It looks like the majority of that system has now pushed eastwards of us. However, there are still a few spotty showers just west of Montreal, so we're keeping our eye on that. Now, as we continue to push it forward, we're looking at partly cloudy skies overnight. We start our Friday off with a mix of sun and clouds, but as the afternoon heads towards us, we see increasing clouds. And then later in the afternoon, it looks like around 4, we do have a spotty system that is just hovering around Montreal, so there is a 60% chance of showers later in the day, and we're not talking a significant rainfall. It looks like around 3 millimeters. By around 9 or 10, that system pushes eastwards. We're holding on to cloudy skies overnight, but around 5 a.m. on Saturday, we have the return of some rain and the risk of some thunderstorms. We already know that Saturday is going to be filled with that risk of thunderstorms, so just something to consider. Looks like we'll have the majority of our Friday as a nice one. Now, tonight we do have that 21 degrees. It'll be a little bit of a warm night, and that risk of thunderstorms, we could see around 1 millimeter in addition to what we've already seen so far, which was just over 1 millimeter of rain. So again, not a lot of rain falling. We start the day off with 22 degrees, feeling like 30 as we start our day, and that increases. Our actual high will be 29, feeling like 38, and we could see around 3 millimeters of rain later in the afternoon. Here's our longer range forecast. We know that Saturday will be a rainy one. Sunday, we start the day off with a few showers, and then we'll see some clearing. It'll feel like 33. Monday, Tuesday, and next Thursday, we are calling for some rain and the risk of some thunderstorms, but we can see our temperatures are getting closer to where they should be, a high of 24, feeling like 29.
The grandparent scam has been around for years, but now AI is making it much more sophisticated. Here's Pat Foran.
He said, "It's Mike." He'd used my brother's name.
Angie McCaw of Smith Falls is close with her brother Mike, so when it appeared he was in trouble, she wanted to help. She got a phone call from someone who sounded just like him.
I said, "Mike, what's wrong?" And he told me that he'd been in this accident and had a broken nose, and he was found fault because he hit somebody from behind.
McCaw says another person came on the line claiming to be a lawyer who said Mike needed money for bail or he would spend the night in a jail cell.
I actually went to the bank and withdrew $6,000.
A courier was sent to her home to pick up the cash. Then McCaw was called back and told Mike was being sued and she needed to send more money for his legal defense.
I made a mistake and went into the bank and withdrew another $6,250 from a line of credit.
After McCaw handed over more than $12,000 to the courier, she decided to call her brother to ask him if he was ready to go to trial.
And he said, "Angie, I don't have a lawyer. There's been no car accident. There's nothing of this has happened. You've been scammed."
In an earlier interview with CTV News, a cybersecurity expert said criminals need just a small sample of a person's voice to clone it. They're then able to impersonate someone and sound just like them.
What they can do just by getting about 10 seconds of anyone's voice, they can recreate that voice to sound exactly like that person.
To avoid the family emergency scam, beware of urgent demands for bail or legal fees, and if the caller wants secrecy and says not to tell anyone. Never allow an in-person pickup of money at your home. Use a code word only your family knows, and if in doubt, call the family member directly at a trusted number. McCaw has mixed emotions about what happened to her, but wanted to warn others.
At first, I felt relief that he wasn't really in trouble. Then I felt really angry, because I'd been taken advantage of and I knew it.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
It seems 1 in 4 Canadians say they can afford to pay only the minimum monthly payment on their credit cards. The survey was done by Equifax. Among the other findings, 7% said they might fall behind on payments. 56%, though, say they expect to pay their balances in full every month. And 67% say they have reduced entertainment and leisure expenses, and 40% have cut back on spending on personal care. Now, Quebec's real estate market appears to be cooling. Montreal area home sales fell 10% in July from the year before. Quebec's real estate board says 3,300 residential properties changed hands last month, and that's down from 3,700 last year. Meanwhile, home prices were up across all categories for the month. The median price for a single-family home is now $650,000, and the median price of a condo is just over $431,000. And coming up, giant mirrors in space.
Like comic book villain plots or something like that.
It is a satellite that can turn nighttime into day. And how far do we have to be from wildfires to be safe from the smoke?
Your Health, brought to you by Gratianscap's 50th anniversary gift event. Get a complete second pair and sunglasses as a gift.
Last month saw an above-average number of forest fires. According to Quebec's Forest Fire Agency, SOPFEU, there were 90 fires in July. The average is 66. Lightning strikes caused the vast majority of the fires, and most of them were in northern Quebec, Abitibi-Témiscamingue, the North Shore, and the Outaouais. And the smoke from the wildfires is a health risk even when the fire is far away. Experts are tracking air quality to see how smoke travels. Colton Weens has more.
Unfortunately, we are seeing longer wildfire seasons. We're also seeing areas that usually are not impacted by wildfires, highly impacted by wildfires.
Wildfires are burning across Ontario and Canada, situations that can quickly grow. And it just takes some changing winds to put areas like southern Ontario under poor air quality again.
Last year, we were able to detect how the Canadian wildfires were actually spreading throughout parts of southern Europe.
If those winds do line up in a given direction from the surface to higher levels of the atmosphere, that can tend to create streamers of wildfire smoke that can travel for thousands of kilometers. And as we saw a few weeks ago, not only affecting air quality in southern Ontario from fires in northwestern Ontario, but also affecting communities in the northeastern U.S.
When winds push smoke, there's really no way of slowing it down.
There are 8 million people per year that die from air pollution. So if you really think about it in that terms, there's so much that we can do to help to save human health if we focus on the air quality.
Switzerland-based IQ Air makes and sells air purifiers and monitors. They also operate a network of data that anyone with their monitors can provide information to.
Really, truly try to give people hyper-local data. So that's the station that's closest to them, and we want people to have the most accurate information to make informed choices.
And as technology monitoring wildfires increases, Dolphin Hammes says the season is only getting worse and suggests that everyone check air quality throughout the day, especially during these summer months. Colton Weens, CTV News, Kitchener.
A U.S.-based company wants to harness the power of the sun and reflect it back to Earth from space. It's called the Sunlight Company. Danton Unger has more.
Delivering sunlight on demand with a constellation of satellites. That's the goal of Reflect Orbital.
With control over sunlight, solar energy can power the world forever.
The U.S.-based space startup says its satellites will be able to transform into giant mirrors, reflecting a 5-kilometer wide beam of sunlight that could illuminate disaster response areas, boost the agricultural sector, and energize solar farms after dark. It hopes to have over 50,000 satellites in orbit by 2035.
This is like comic book villain plots or something like that.
Manitoba Museum Planetarium astronomer Scott Young is not shy about his concerns with the project.
So this will completely kill astronomy, not just amateurs who just love looking at the sky, but also research astronomy, because one of these satellites going over a big telescope will pretty much fry the camera.
Those concerns extend beyond the world of astronomy.
The risks really seem to me to outweigh any possible benefit.
Danielle Pahoud, the director of the U of M's Lockhart Planetarium, worries these solar spotlights could impact human sleep and health, create more light pollution, and throw off nocturnal wildlife that relies on the night sky.
Nighttime as we know it will be gone. And it will have a devastating impact on our ecosystem, and it's all interconnected.
Reflect Orbital tells CTV News it's committed to ongoing dialogue and has commissioned third-party research on the impacts of its technology, including environmental impact assessments, adding its service will be targeted and customers will require permits to receive it. It seems the world may soon see at least one of these satellites in action. The U.S. Federal Communications Commission has given the green light to test this project, and Reflect Orbital plans to launch a satellite later this year. Danton Unger, CTV News, Winnipeg.
The union representing WestJet cabin crews has released details of the tentative deal with the airline. According to the Canadian Union of Public Employees, the deal includes an 18% wage hike over 3 years, pay for work on the ground, more time off, and higher food and uniform allowances. Workers will vote on the agreement in the coming weeks.
Business News, brought to you by Au Vieux de Loup. Generous and delicious plates all the time.
The parent company of Tim Hortons reported their earnings today, and sales are flat. Morella Fernandez has more.
Tim says its FIFA-inspired Timbits just didn't score with customers. The themed Timbits, like Canadian fireworks, fell flat. That forced Tim's to focus on melts and cold drinks to keep sales steady. Restaurant Brands International is the parent company. It also owns Burger King, which has been rebranded and is doing well in the U.S. and international markets. RBI's revenue for the quarter was just over $2.5 billion U.S. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is up to 71.35 U.S. West Texas Intermediate up over $2 to 77.29 U.S. a barrel. Western Canadian Select is down to 58.93, and the TSX did not move much today, losing only 10 points. Those are your business headlines. I'm Morella Fernandez.
Cineplex is reporting a record-breaking box office weekend, and it's thanks to two summer blockbusters. Spider-Man Brand New Day brought in $360 million, and The Odyssey earned $51 million in its fourth week. Cineplex also says it had its highest ever revenue from snack sales. 70,000 people gathered for a free outdoor classic music concert last night. The Metropolitan Orchestra performed at the foot of Mount Royal to celebrate the 150th anniversary of the park. Conductor Yannick Nezet-Seguin said he hoped the program would be uplifting for all Montrealers. The pride flag in the town of Val-David has been repeatedly vandalized. And Caroline, the town's mayor says he will not let the vandals win.
That's right. The mayor of Val-David has had to have workers replace the pride flag in the town 3 times already, but each time it has been vandalized, so it will go up a 4th time. The mayor says he's very disappointed given that Val-David is an open-minded and inclusive town. We'll hear more from him tonight on what they're trying to do to catch whoever's doing this. And we'll have the latest from the trial of a Quebec father accused of killing his 9-year-old daughter last summer in New York State. That's all at 11:30 tonight. Mitsumi.
Thanks very much, Caroline. And when we come back, sunflowers. A woman has created a magical place. It is amazing what you can do with sunflowers. Here's Sean Irvin.
This field full of sunflowers is literally an idea come true for West Elgin resident Jody Aldred. The 29-year-old recently returned to this area and within a few months envisioned the concept and the message.
From the aerial view, you can see a bumblebee, the word kind, and then a walking path.
The words match Aldred's new vision in life, which she hopes to share with others.
I wanted something that could resonate with everyone, and I landed on Be Kind Blooms, and I want it to be a space where people come and they don't worry about yesterday or tomorrow. I think the mission behind the patch is just live for today, choose joy, and be kind.
There are nearly 30 acres of blooms here, which adds up to, get this, almost 600,000 sunflowers. It takes about 20 minutes to walk the wide trails if you don't stop.
Unless you know someone, you don't always have a chance to step foot on farm and truly just enjoy it at a slow pace.
But most visitors probably will, including a select few who book in advance for a date night experience in one of 5 open areas.
You can go to a restaurant any day of the week, but not every day can you drive out to the country and come and enjoy a sunset and sunflowers.
As a young entrepreneur, Jody hopes the field she created in partnership with family and local businesses attracts people to West Elgin.
West Elgin honestly lacks something to draw people, so for people to come out and give them reason to come and enjoy the country.
The field opens this Friday, with all proceeds on August 25th going to the Children's Health Foundation. In West Elgin, Sean Irvin, CTV News.
How beautiful is that? Okay, so we still have some thunderstorms in the area.
Yeah, that's right. So we are still under this watch where we're looking at the potential of a thunderstorm. And if we do end up seeing it, it'll only bring about 1 millimeter of rain. And that is in place until about midnight. When I looked at the futurecast, it looked like by 9 or 10 we should be in the clear, but just something to consider. Our low tonight, 21 degrees. So that's a little bit on the warmer side. And even tomorrow morning, we hold on to some of the warmth because 22 is our wake up temperature. It'll feel like 30. We're calling for a high of 29, feeling like 38. A reminder, we have some late day showers, the potential of that around 3 millimeters. And just giving you a quick glimpse at the longer range forecast, we will finally see a little bit of sun later in the day on Sunday. So yes, we have a lot of rain, but the sun will come out again.
And that's it for us. Have a good evening. Stay well. Good night.